Hey everybody, this is homework 2.20 and today we are working on systems of equations but with elimination. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and take a look at a few of these problems. I'm going to show you a few examples and hopefully this will take less work than substitution. However, you do want to make sure that you are showing your work. Alright. So first things first is when we're doing elimination for the problems that we are facing right now, we are looking to see which variable, x or y, is going to be most easily eliminated because it has the same coefficient. So for number 1, x has 4, -4, and +4 as a coefficient. This shows us that this one will be the most easily eliminated, and I can do that by going ahead and combining my equations. So in this case, because -4 is the opposite of +4, I can go ahead and just add these together. And remember to keep your equal sign because we want to make sure that the sides remain equal to each other. So -4 and +4 are going to be 0. That's going to cancel each other out. -2y plus 8y. Again, remember, in case you're still, you need a little refresher on your positive and negative numbers, you can either use a number line or you can use your T-chart scoreboard method. We have a -2 and a positive y. The positive side's bigger, so the positive, it's going to be a positive answer, and it's bigger by 6, so it'll be positive 6y. Equals, and then now we have two negatives here, so if we were to look at the scoreboard method for this one, we would have -12 on this side and -24 on this side, so they're going to be added together to be -36. All right, so you can see very easily now we can go ahead and divide both sides by 6, and 6 divided by 6 is 1, so we'll get 1y, or just y, equals -6. Remember, a negative divided by a positive is a negative. So we get y equals -6. Now remember, we are not completely done yet. We have part of our answer, so we have y equals -6. We still need to figure out what x is, and we're going to do that by going in and plugging y into the original equation. So we'll say -4x minus 2 times y, which is -6, equals -12. -4x -2 times -6 is going to be +12 equals -12. There you go. Equals -12. And then I want to isolate the x here, so I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. 12 minus 12 is 0, so this will cancel out. I can bring down my -4x equals -12 and -12 is going to be -24. Divide both sides by -4. Okay, -4 divided by -4 will be +1x, and then -24 divided by -4, a negative divided by a negative becomes a positive, so this will be +6. All right, so our answer is 6, -6. Let's take a look at, I'm going to pick a good one for you. So numbers 2, 3, and 4, you can easily eliminate because you have coefficients that have a negative and a positive. So here we have +4x and -4x. If you combine these, that'll easily be canceled out. Same thing with this one. We have a -y and a positive y, -6x, +6x. Okay, so those are your hints for 2, 3, and 4. If we look at number 5, though, 5 is different, okay? So 5, we see that we have a -2x and a -4x. So the coefficients are not the same value, and we have same signs there. However, for our y's, we have a -9 in front of both of those. So y will be most easily eliminated. However, they have the same sign. And so if we were to do -9y and -9y, we would get -18y. We want to get 0. We want to cancel those out. So in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and subtract my second equation from my first equation. Now, because I'm subtracting the whole thing, right, this negative sign needs to be distributed through the entirety of the parentheses. All right, so when I do that, if I go ahead and distribute this negative through, a negative times a negative, this will be a positive, this will be a positive, and this will now be a positive. Okay, and let me just show you over here what that looks like. If we have negative 4x minus 9y equals negative 23, and we're subtracting the whole thing, we're distributing this negative through my parentheses, and so this becomes a positive 4x, positive 9y, and positive 23. Okay? So now I can combine these, and I have a negative 2x and a positive 4x, so I'm going to be left with a positive 2x. Negative 9y and positive 9y cancel out. That brings us back to 0. That's why we did that. And then this equals negative 25 plus 23 is going to be negative 2. I'm going to divide both sides by 2 to get rid of this coefficient here, and I'll get x equals negative 2 divided by positive 2 is going to be a negative 1. Again, I have part of my answer, right? We have negative 1 for x. We need to figure out y, so I'm going to go back in and plug this in. So I'm going to do negative 2 times x is negative 1 minus 9y equals negative 25. Negative times a negative is positive, so this will be 2 minus 9y equals negative 25. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides because I want to get rid of that 2. 2 minus 2 will be 0. I get negative 9y equals negative 27. Divide both sides by negative 9. This will cancel out, and we will get... Okay, sorry about the interruption. Someone came to my door. All right, so negative 27 divided by negative 9 is going to be positive because a negative divided by a negative, remember, same sign, gives us a positive result. So y will equal positive 3. Now we can say that our answer is negative 1 comma positive 3. Okay? All right, so you are going to go and do those same things for the next few. Notice that for number 6, for example, we have a positive y and a positive y. The coefficients are 1 for both of these, so we're going to want to multiply this whole bottom one by a negative. We're going to subtract that bottom part or multiply the whole thing by a negative, and then you'll be able to combine and cancel out those y's, and you'll be left with only x's. All right, for here, number 7, you're going to look at these x's. 8, you'll look at the 2's. Okay, now remember, our goal is to eliminate... Again, our goal is to eliminate either the x's or the y's based on what the coefficient is. All right. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the back. All right. So the back says which equation is the result of adding these two equations. So if we add these two equations together, what will we get? So again, you're going to, let me rewrite it over here so we have a little more space. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and combine our x's, our y's, and then our right side. So we have negative 2x plus 3x is going to be just x. Positive 4y minus 10y is going to be negative 6y. And then 17 minus 3 will be 14. So we know that that is one way to write this equation. So this would be letter C. Okay, if we look at some of the other options, they are telling us, let's look at and see why these are wrong. So for A, it has negative 5x. They did not add this correctly, right? They made these both negatives and combined them incorrectly. For letter B, similarly, they didn't pay attention to the fact that this 3 is bigger than that negative 2, so it should be a positive x. And then letter D, opposite, they had an issue with these two right here and made it 14y. They also didn't add this correctly as well. They had to pay attention to the signs. So this is all about paying attention to those positive and negative signs. All right. Number 2, which equation is the result of subtracting the second equation from the first? So remember, you're subtracting the second equation. All right, so those should be subtraction signs for each of those. And I'm going to ask that you figure this out because I know that you can do it. Make sure that you distribute this negative sign through the whole thing, okay? Because when you're subtracting, you have to subtract each of our items here, okay? To make sure that each of these terms is subtracted. All right. Number 3 has us solving the system of equations without graphing. Again, look at this one is interesting because our coefficients for 2 of them are the same, but we have one that's positive and one that's negative. So getting rid of our 2 y's will be the easiest one to get rid of. So you can do number 3 on your own. Same thing with number 4. Definitely can do that by yourself. All right. This is a review question. Number 5 is having you practice making the system of equations. So after one round, Elena says, you earned so many more points than I did. If you earned 5 more points, your score would be twice mine. Kieran says, oh, I don't think I did that much better. I only scored 9 points higher than you did. Write a system of equations to represent each student's comment. Be sure to specify what your variables represent. All right, so let's say Elena says, whoops, let's change this. Elena says that you earned so many points that if you earned 5 more points, so let's say Kieran is K. Kieran plus 5, if she earned 5 more points, your score would be 2 times mine. So 2 times Elena's score. Okay? That's her equation. Now, Kieran says, don't be silly. I didn't do that much better. I only scored 9 points higher than you did. So Kieran says that she has Elena plus 9 points equals Kieran's score. All right? So that's A. Those are your 2 equations. We'll say K equals Kieran, E equals Elena. If both students were correct, how many points did each student score? Show your reasoning, okay? So assuming that both of these students made correct assumptions, we are going to need to first line up our variables. So the K right now is on this side and the E right now is on this side. Let's move these around a little bit. So we have to manipulate them. We have K plus 5 equals 2E. I want to move this 2E to the other side, and I want to move this 5 over here to this side. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. I'm going to get K equals 2E minus 5. Now I want to get that E to the other side, so I'm going to subtract 2E from both sides, and I will get K minus 2E equals negative 5. Okay, that's one of my equations. Now I have E plus 9 equals K. I'm going to manipulate this, subtract 9 from both sides. I'll get E equals K minus 9. Now I want to get rid of, oops, I'm not dividing, sorry about that. Let's rewrite that. K minus 9. I want to go ahead and subtract the K from both sides. And I want mine to be in the same order as this equation over here. So I'm going to list this as negative K plus E equals negative 9. So I have a negative K plus E equals negative 9. And I want to go ahead and now I can combine these equations, or I can add them, right, as it were, to get rid of my K's, to eliminate these K's. So K minus K is 0. Negative 2E plus E is going to be negative E. And then negative 5 and negative 9 will be negative 14. Again, we have a negative in front of both of these, so I want to divide by negative 1 on both sides, and I will get E equals 14, which makes sense because she should have positive points. All right, so this tells me that Elena now has 14 points. We want to see what Kieran got, right? So if we have this right here, we would say Elena is 14 plus 9 equals Kieran's score. So Kieran's score is 23. And we can see that they are both actually correct here, because if we did Kieran 29 plus 5, okay, and then we have 2 times Elena's score. Oh, whoops, sorry y'all, I wrote that wrong. 23. Oh my goodness, okay. 23, let me fix that. I was like, something's wrong here. All right, so we have, let's redo that here. Okay, so we have 23 plus 5. This works out much better, is 28, and then 2 times 14 is going to be 28. All right, so both of those equation works. We know that Elena got 14 and Kieran got 23 points. okay? The key thing here that you want to pay attention to is that we needed to make sure we rearrange these equations so that they lined up. Again, using that commutative property, it's super, super important. All right, code word today, we'll say commutative because, you know, it's relevant. So commutative is your code word for today. If you have any questions, comment below or send me a message. Happy homeworking.